So I'm just walking along downtown Senoia wearing my fade, as you can see. It is amazing, absolutely insane. It's like super warm and fluffy, and it just, well, it's kind of messed up because of my bag right now, but it's just like enveloping me. So I'm so excited to finally have it done. It's like, oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah, so this is like a bunch of new buildings that they put in, I think in the last couple of years here. So just like a lot of really cool shops. I'll turn the camera around. There we go, much better. So yeah, it's just really, really pretty down here. Like, just beautiful. I love the buildings and the real flames, and the lamps are so cool. So it's like, oh my goodness, we need a yarn shop down here. Alright, well, there you have it. Oh my gosh, my hair is like totally messed up. I have like a little thing sticking out and it's so funny. Anyway, so yeah, that's like one of my favorite places to like kind of sit and knit and just hang out. And today I was doing some design work and, you know, working on something super secret. So, but yeah, I thought you guys would enjoy a look at downtown Senoia, where I am happy to come and hang out and, you know, just get a lot of good creativity going, and their coffee's really good. And so is their apple cinnamon pecan cupcake muffin. That's what it is. Anyway, so yeah, it's a really, really pretty day. I wish the sky would like, there we go. There's the sky. It's like super pretty. But it is getting cold, so not even my fade can keep me warm. It's dropping down toward 40, I think, by now, or 45, I don't know, somewhere around there. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just armed with my little fade, and big fade, and my cashmere, my favorite cashmere cardigan, and my Sperry boots, as y'all saw. So anyway, yep, I'm gonna head home and go ahead and film the rest of the podcast and then put it all together for you guys. So bye. Hello, welcome to the Something About Yarn podcast. My name is Annie, and I am a knitter, knitwear designer, and yarn enthusiast living south of Atlanta, Georgia. I just like talking about all the things that I enjoy doing with yarn and playing with colors and sharing all of that with you. If you're a new viewer, thank you for checking out my channel. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and letting me talk at you some more. I know this episode is a little bit late, as I forewarned on Instagram. I also told you guys that it would be worth the wait, and maybe you can tell why. Maybe? It's kind of obvious if you know what you're looking for. Oh my goodness, I love it. I am just thrilled with how it turned out, and it took me, let's see, I put it in the blocking tub, let it soak for about half an hour, just like with a little bit of like the soak wool wash that I have. And yeah, that thing grew. As soon as it got wet, it was just like it just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. People who kind of warned me about how much it grew in blocking were not exaggerating. I know I had mentioned for a couple of episodes back, I had mentioned getting some more blocking mats. I did. I got a second set, and even those were not enough. And I will post a picture of what I ended up doing. I ended up, like, it wasn't solid blocking mats. I kind of would take one out where I didn't need it and then put it somewhere else, and it was crazy. I used almost a whole container of blocking pins, the blocking, like, T-pins. I used all of my blocking wires from my Knit Pick set, and even 18 squares of the blocking mats themselves were not enough. I had to do a couple of pins like down into the carpet a little bit to like get it. It's crazy. It took me about 2 hours from the time that I pulled it out of the tub and you know, got as much water out of it as I could to the time that I put put the last blocking pin in, and was happy with how it turned out. So it was long in the knitting and long in the blocking, and guys, I'm like, it is so warm. I'm gonna have to take it off in a minute here. But like, I went to put it on and I was like, oh my gosh, like I think I'm too short for it. Maybe, I don't know. It's like it just keeps like wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. Like at one point I was like, how am I even gonna walk with this? Because it like goes down all the way down, like past my hips in the front. So I don't know if I can like stand up and show you guys, like, I don't know if it'll show well, but yeah, it just keeps going and going and going. And yeah, and then you have like the tails here and like back here, like I think I should probably be about 6 inches taller to really pull this off, but I still love it. And I kind of, you know, I was able to kind of figure it out. Like I have this loop here, you know, and when I move around a lot, it kind of gets still, so I'll just have to put it back. But I kind of figured out that if I put it on like a kerchief and then just kind of wrap the ends around and then over my shoulder, it sits okay. I was able to get through Publix earlier. I only had a few things to get and I had like my bag on my shoulder and it kept like pulling it down. But it kept me so warm. Like it was, let's see, my car chimed at me when I was driving home saying it's under 40 degrees. Yes, my car does that and it scares the crap out of me sometimes. Oh goodness. I'm like about to overheat. So yeah, all I had was this, and then this is a 100% cashmere cardigan I got at Kohl's like 5 years ago, and so it is super warm, and I have a t-shirt on under it, and then I'm just wearing like some black leggings, and then I had my my Sperry boots on. I got a little bit chilly, like my hands were really cold because the wind like went right through this. My neck was very warm, as it is right now, like oh my gosh. Whew. Like I even turned the heat off down here because it was making a lot of noise and I didn't want you guys to have to, you know, listen over the heat. But anyway, if it hadn't been for the breeze kicking up as it dipped down toward like 45 degrees or so, I think I would have been okay with this cardigan, my Sperry's, and this as my insulation against the cold. So, but I love it. Let me see. Now that it's blocked, you can really see the lacy details a lot more. Like the double yarn overs really, whoops, upside down, really open up a lot. So I'm gonna try to show this to you guys. I hope it shows up. So you've got the color. Just fade, 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 and it's just beautiful. So, yep. I need to get some actual like good pictures of me wearing it. I think I'll have Michael take some pictures, my boyfriend, in case you're not from past episodes, you know. So, and oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention in the beginning, I know that I have this little thing sticking out in my hair right up here. I am perfectly, if it's still sticking out, I'm aware of it. It's been doing it all day, and I'm just like, whatever. So I care not. Sorry if it bothers anybody and you're just like wanting to reach to the camera and just be like, you know. So anyway, so yeah, I fade. Oh my goodness, it's just so beautiful and soft, and it's exactly, it feels like a hug, exactly how I imagined it would. So yes, I'm thrilled, and it's going to get a lot of wear. When I'm going to and from work and it's like, you know, when I leave work and it's like 35, 32 degrees at night, I'm probably, because I'm going straight home and it's dark anyway, I'm probably just going to be like, and go. I'm not going to like make it all nice and impressive looking. But it's just going to be like nice and warm. So I can do both. It can be worn as like a shawl, as a kerchief, a mega kerchief that like blocks your entire body. Oh man. Yeah. So I had yesterday off, I had today off, and I have tomorrow off. I know I mentioned holidays in retail. yeah, those of you who are also in retail or who have been retail during the holidays know exactly what I'm talking about. I knew that I would need a break coming down out of that. Sorry, that was a total like, oh, I'm gone. Okay, well, I'm back now. So anyway, so yeah, I'm just enjoying having 3 days off. It's like a mini staycation. So I worked on some upcoming design stuff. So things I can't talk about quite yet, but I will as I can. Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah. And like plotting some things with Shay from Cameo Yarns and maybe somebody else as well. You know who you are if you're watching this. Yeah, I'm gonna keep the suspense. Like seriously, like this is gonna be so fun. Like, oh my gosh. Back to my normal format. Like there is a normal for me, right? This is only what, episode 7? Yeah, actually episode 7, and all of my episodes have been kind of all over the place. So anyway, so yeah, I will just launch into knitting then, I guess. So works in progress first. I am still working on my campsite cardi. I've made a lot of progress since, well, have I? I've made some progress. Work was a little bit stressful last week, so I didn't get as much knitting done. I just came home and crashed every night, as I'm sure I mentioned in the last episode that was super short for that reason. But yeah, so this is my campsite cardi. Hopefully you guys can see this. I am like most of the way done with the sleeve. I think, yeah. I'm kind of looking like, because I have my little light up over there and it has a mirror in the middle, so I sort of have it like reflecting onto my phone screen. So I can look at it and kind of see what I'm showing you guys, but it's a little awkward. But anyway, so yeah, I think I just have another maybe 3 or 4 inches, but I have to switch over to DPNs now because this is a 12-inch circular, not a 9-inch, and it's getting a little bit too tight. But so yeah, I just have a little bit longer to go with that, and then some ribbing and the sleeve is done. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on monogamously up until today anyway. And I can kind of talk about it a little bit. I mentioned at one point that I was doing some swatching for a mystery project. I can talk about it a little bit. Part of what I wanted to kind of talk about I guess a little bit more on the podcast is going into more of the design aspect, just because, as I mentioned, I am a knitwear designer. As you guys know, I know I put out a call for test knitters for some gloves. I have to put that on hold because I have to work on something else right now. But I will come back to that. In the meantime, I do have some more designs coming down the pipeline that I will need some test knitters for. So I'm gonna switch my test knitting call thread on the Ravelry group over from just like for that one glove design to basically kind of building a pool of design test knitters that I can, hopefully like, hey, you guys, I have, something that needs to be tested, and then I can kind of pull from a group of people, and kind of like build a community like that I can work with, because I like the familiarity of working with the same people over and over again, and kind of, not like a formal team, but if you like my designs and you would like to test knit them, maybe I can do some fun stuff in the, like with the test knitters group, kind of building, a good group of people that we can kind of have fun with it, and, like I said, work with the same people multiple times, and, if you like my designs and want to do it, great. If you just want to do one, that's fine. But I would like to have like that familiarity, I guess. So anyway, another rant. And I'm back. So let me put this cardigan aside. I want to fold it up so that it doesn't get all wrinkly. I kind of roll it a little bit like that, and then I kind of fold it like this and put it right down. The Fringe Supply field bag does not look like it would be able to hold a cardigan at first glance. But guys, this is like, I mean, it held my fade. It held my fade up to the very end. I kept it in this bag. And I still have room left. So it will fit in here till the very end, which is great because I just toss this in my backpack and go, and then I pull it out at lunch. So as you guys know, if you follow my Instagram, I keep telling you guys things that you already know if you follow me on Instagram. Although if you don't follow me on Instagram and you haven't seen my podcast before, I guess you don't mind. So I'll try to keep a good balance of that, but I do forget what I talk about. I forget what I tell people. So I will, like, sometimes I will be talking to one of my coworkers or one of my friends, like Shay. Perfect example. I asked her something earlier that, for the life of me, I could not remember if I had already asked her. And she humors me and loves me anyway. Thank you, Shay. That anybody who knows me on a personal level, you know, I forget what I tell people. I forget what I talk about with people. And I have to go back and go, did I just think about that? Or did I actually say it? So you guys will probably have to humor me on that count as well. Sorry in advance. This is the pile of yarn tails that I had from cutting off, like from weaving in the ends on my my fade. So hopefully that's focusing and I'm not just like, if it didn't focus, I'll just cut all that out. But anyway, so yeah, that is all the ends from my fade, where I wove them in today like a mad woman so that I could get to downtown Sonoya before the light faded. So yeah, very cool. I'm gonna let that little pile of yarn ends sit there for a while so that I can be like, I did it. You know. Yeah. So moving on. I don't really have any other works in progress that I've actually like made progress on. I have been doing some more swatching for an upcoming design. Like I said, it's a little bit on the down low. I am teaming up with Shay, my good friend Shay at Cameo Yarns, and we're going to be doing something really fun with that. More details as we get a little bit closer to the premiere of the design. I sent her mood boards and stuff for the yarn that I would like dyed up for it last week, so it is happening. And oh my goodness, I am excited. And so yeah, it's basically gonna be a collaboration, my design, her yarn, and then somebody else is also going to be involved, but I will, like I said, save the suspense, build the suspense for you guys, and kind of, you know, I love being mischievous and keeping things under wraps. So, but yeah, it'll kind of start leaking out a little bit here and there as we get closer, because I definitely, oh my gosh, I have a really bad habit of cracking my knuckles. Knitting like causes a lot of pressure, so I have to like release the pressure, and sorry if that's annoying, but sometimes I don't realize I'm doing it until, yeah, and I have no idea how loud it is on camera, so sorry. So yeah, this design in particular, I am working really hard to make sure it is just a showstopper. So I'm super excited because I really want to do Shay's yarn justice. She does such a good job with her colors. Like, she sends me pictures from when, you know, what she's working on and stuff, and it's just like every single one of them I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a sweater quantity right now. So I am ecstatic to just like see what she dreams up from the mood boards I sent her, and I know you guys are gonna love it, and yeah, it's gonna be really cool. It's going to be, like I said, we'll probably release like some sneak peeks and stuff like that as we get closer to the premiere of the design, which will be actually at Stitches United at the end of May. Yes, we got started on this early because I want plenty of time to do all of this justice. So yeah, that's gonna be really excited. We're gonna have kits available at the show, like as a, you know, like release kind of thing is going to be available exclusively at the show, and then like the week after the show I'll make the pattern available on Ravelry, and then we will have some additional yarn available in Shay's online shop as well. So we're still trying to work out, you know, the specifics of all of that, but definitely keep an eye out on here on the podcast, and then also on Instagram. I'm gonna have it done by the end of February. I totally lost myself. And then use the month of March to send it out to test knitters and tech editors, stuff like that. So that's kind of the timeline that I'm thinking. So if it's something that you're interested, I will tell you. It is going to be a 200-gram project, roughly. So it's going to require 2 skeins of sock yarn, and it is going to be a shawl. That's all I'm going to say. So, if you have yarn, you want to test knit it, I will keep you guys kind of in the know as we go on that, because I would really like to have like 2 test knitters, maybe 3. I'm not quite sure, because the way that I'm designing it is going to have several different options as far as the finished product. And I'm really excited about it. So I would like to have each of them knit up so that I can have a good start on Ravelry as far as, you know, photos to show off on the blog, and then, you know, projects in the Ravelry database that people can look at and say, oh, they did it this way, oh, they did it that way, that kind of thing, to really show off the potential and the extreme fun that I hope this pattern will be for people. So anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm working on. I went to the cafe earlier, and so this is gonna like transition into like the design stuff that I want to start talking about more on the podcast. I want to kind of talk about my process and you know, not give too much away, especially with this specific project, because I want it to be a surprise. As we get closer, it's going to be like, here's a little sneak peek, here's a little tidbit here and there, that kind of thing, to really make it a lot of fun, because I enjoy that kind of thing when other like dyers or designers are doing that, and it's just like, oh, I get so excited. So, you know, I thought it would be fun for you guys to have that. So anyway, so yeah, I took like all my little notebooks, because I have so many notebooks and stuff like that. And then as far as stitch dictionaries, I use the Harmony Guides. So for this one, I took these 2 because that's where I'm starting at. I do have the other ones, the Knit Edgings and Trims, I think is what it's called, and then Cables and Errands. To start, I just took these 2 along, but then I'll be pulling out the other ones later on. But it's like, these are so heavy. This is like all my shoulder could handle. This and my iPad and my bottle of water were like, ugh. So anyway, so yeah, the Harmony Guides are awesome. I have been using them for years, and not with every single design. You know, sometimes I'll see something and I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and then I do like my own take on it, or like my own version of it, or whatever. I tweak it to be what I need it to be. So when I start a design idea, usually it's just like, oh, that's something I want to design, like, oh my gosh, you know. So with this design in particular, I was looking at something. I'm not going to give it away, I'm not going to, you know, I was looking at something and I was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. That would really make a cool like knitwear design. Like, it's a thought, I guess, that just pops into my head, and I'm like, oh, how can I translate that into a design? Sometimes it's, ooh, I really like that texture. How would that look in this color? Or sometimes it's, that color is amazing, I need to design with that. And then I build a design around a specific colorway. So really, I do start from a lot of different places as far as my design process. When I get an idea, if it's not like a concrete idea, like for the one that I'm, you know, collaborating with Shay on, with her yarn, it just started with a mental image drawn from an object of inspiration. So I thought, okay, I have this picture in my head. How can I take that and translate it into something that somebody can knit? So I just started thinking about it, and kind of processing. I do a lot of processing. That's what I call it. You know, like chewing on something, processing, you know, however you personally phrase it. And I start building off of the initial spark of inspiration, and I try to build it from the ground up, I guess. So, you know, I will start, you know, in this case, I had an inspiration, like, you know, an image inspiration, visual inspiration. I was like, oh, that would be a cool knitwear design. So how am I going to go about that? What is my groundwork? And I start thinking about it in terms of, okay, I like this idea. How can I implement it? I like that idea. How can I implement it? Is this too much? Is that not enough? How will the, you know, do I need to do one color? Do I need to do 2 or 3 colors? How will they play together? What is my palette going to be? What are the textures? Okay, this yarn is a solid. How am I going to make that interesting with texture? Or, you know, this one is a multicolor or a multitonal or something like that. How can I use that to my advantage, you know, and play off of the multicolor? You know, and draw that out by creating a stitch definition or, you know, a stitch pattern that uses all the different colors in the yarn to my advantage to create a really fun and interesting knit. A lot of times when I'm designing with multicolored yarn, I tend to go on the simpler side with a pattern. So I don't do a lot of lace or anything like that typically, because I don't want it to get lost in all the different colors. Now, there are some designs that I've done with a lot of color. I'm specifically thinking of my Cobbled Cowl, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, where I decided on a stitch that brought out all the colors in the skein of Malabrigo that I had. In fact, let me go ahead and grab it so I can show you guys. Okay, so this is my Cobbled Cowl. Hopefully it's gonna focus. So I had this skein of Malabrigo, and it is their Rios, Malabrigo Rios. And it is just, oh, it's amazing. It's super soft, and I loved how many different colors there were in this skein. So I just started playing with different textures. So as you can see from this one, at first look you might think, oh, that's going to be really busy, but the way that I did it with the texture pulled out different colors and accentuated them. So, you know, I wouldn't want to do this kind of yarn for something, you know, super intricate or with a lot of cables, because that's going to get lost in the colors. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach designing with really, really colorful yarns. Now, if I have a design idea that is a lot more intricate, that's where, like I said, I will use like a semi-solid or like a really, I hate to say, I don't want to say like boring, but like say you compare a semi-solid to a hand-painted yarn. By contrast, the semi-solid, you know, the like one color yarn would seem kind of boring. So when I'm doing something that's really lively as far as texture, cables, lace kind of stuff, I mean, you do always have some overlap with that, but for me, I've just found that when I'm doing really intricate things, like I said, you know, busy yarns like this can pull away from the stitches that you're doing, and they can get lost and kind of bleed into the background, I guess. So here's my Cathedrals wrap, which is also available on Ravelry. And for this one, I really wanted to pull out the multi-tones of my, this is my Copper Kettles colorway, and this is on my Destiny DK, which is an MCN blend. And oh my goodness, I miss dyeing this colorway. It is a glaze. So I start with a base color and then I glaze it over with another color, and that creates this really, really gentle color variation. So it would be considered a boring yarn, but I wanted to pull out those tones and accentuate them and make it an interesting knit. So while it is very simple, so I went with, you know, kind of like a lacy design up here, and then I went with just some straight texture. I liked the idea of having different angles and then also rounded texture. So with the lace you get the rounded, you can see that. And then this is really hard to do with the garter, you get like the horizontal, and then down here you get more angles with the texture that I chose. So I wanted to create interest, I wanted to create definite, defined sections, and I wanted to make a good pattern that would be good for the boring yarns, I guess. So that's what I went for with that, and why I chose a boring color. You can see, like the contrast between these two designs, using the yarn and the colors in them along with the stitch patterns that you choose can really honestly make or break a design. So I'm not saying that this would not be absolutely gorgeous in like a solid yarn. You just wouldn't have like the bright pops of color that the stitch the different textures create with the little I don't know, bright pops of color. So, and then using this color with this lace, I don't know, maybe it would work. But so, and I know a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is, from my perspective as a designer and as a knitter, the things that I design and the things, the kind of rules of thumb, I guess, my guidelines that I go for the style that I like to knit and design. And if you have a completely different style and you go do your own thing, great. That's why I love knitting. Everybody can do their own thing. So this is kind of like a, oh my goodness, I'm like not used to talking this much. I'm getting breathless. I have 5 million thoughts spinning through my head right now, and I'm like all over the place trying to form coherent sentences. So sorry if I don't make sense. What the heck was I even talking about? Oh yeah, I was just saying that this is like my approach to designing and knitting. And everybody has their own unique approach. I just thought maybe, I don't know, somebody might think it was interesting how I design. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, so I have, let me get those out of the way. I have my notebook, and this is like where this is what goes with me when I am actually writing a design. So, I'll keep sketches, I'll write out the pattern as I knit it. I always keep some graph paper on hand. And then I have, well actually, let me pull out my binder, because that is where the thought catalog, if you will, is stored. This is my binder, my design binder. I keep the color wheel. It's a really, really good approach on color theory. So you can slide things around and do your own thing, and it's just really, really, really cool to be able to do that. So when I'm trying to build a palette, sometimes I'll refer to this. And yes, I did actually say color theory. It's a thing. It is a thing. And dyeing yarn, I get to play with color theory all the time, and I love it. That's why I miss dyeing yarn, because I am a total color nerd. Like, I love color. I look at things and I see just color, and I look at a plant or food, and I'm just like, I mean, if you guys were customers of mine when I was dyeing Annie yarn, and you're familiar with my colorways, you know that a lot of them are inspired by food, plants, everyday objects, like, I mean, copper kettles. I think in terms of color. So it's, when I look at something, oh man, that's really pretty. How can I turn that into a colorway? That's why and I miss having that outlet. I really, really do. So that's why I'm hoping to get back to dyeing yarn in the next year or so. So yeah, I have like plastic sleeves for everything. And I have like shawl shape worksheets. I have like math stuff, like worksheets for raglan and different things like that. And then I have like some of these have like old drafts of charts, and some of them, oh wow, here, oh I forgot I had this. I have color cards back here. I have one from Quince & Company, one from Brooklyn Tweed, one from Knit Picks. So yeah, I have like some of these things that I have in here are designs that I've already done, where when I'm done, I take the notes out of this, and typed notes, I'll go ahead and print them out, and then I put them all in here so that I have everything to refer back to, even once I have published it on Ravelry. What I did was I created a worksheet for myself that when I am drafting a new idea from here and I just want to put it on a piece of paper, I use this. And I'm actually going to be making a printable version of this available on my blog. So I'll create like a PDF that you guys can use, but this is my personal one, and it's, you know, it's formatted to look like my style and stuff. I'm going to make a little bit more of a generic one. Why do I keep getting fuzz on me? Oh my gosh, that's irritating. Probably because I'm wearing cashmere. Anyway, so yeah, so I have this. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's not too shiny. For now, I just use this, and then I'll have, like I said, my notebook and stuff like that. And then when I'm done, everything, like I said, everything goes in here. And then I'll take like an address label and put it at the bottom with the name of the pattern. And so that was the quick cardie that I did. Hopefully you guys can see it. There we go. So then I put the label right there. So that way I can flip through everything really easily. So, 3-ring binder, big one. If you are a designer, I highly recommend it. If you're not a designer and you're thinking about starting, and you know, I don't know, want to be able to keep all your ideas in one place safely, as safe as this can be, you know. But yeah, so that's what I recommend. That's kind of how I do it. I have been designing, let's see, a little over 9 years now. So I've kind of perfected my own process. You know, each person, like I said before, on, you know, choosing yarn and patterns, stuff like that, everybody has their own process, their own creative flow. So find yours and go with it. So I just wanted to share mine, just to kind of, you know, if you're thinking about getting into it, or if you are and you're like, I can't keep track of stuff, you know, you can see my ideas and then take them and tweak them and bend them around and twist them around to create what works for your like creative process, your mental flow. So anyway, let me check my notes to see what's next, because I'm totally blanking. So yeah, I am right on track, actually. So yeah, a little look into my design process. Sorry it's so helter-skelter, but I just kind of, that's actually my thought process. Very like, ooh, how about this? What about? And that's why I keep notebooks on hand, so that I can sketch things as or write them down as I picture them. That way, when I'm off over here on something else, I can still come back to this later. That way I can chase all those rabbit holes and still somehow manage to keep track of it all, if that makes sense. So I'm doing really, really well with my little yarn diet thing that I'm doing. So let's see how long I can keep it going. I'm just trying to knit with what I've got, design with what I've got. It's really hard because so many dyers that I follow on Instagram are just, you know how it is. You know how it is. Okay, so not yarn related, but sort of, because one podcast that I watched talked about it, Woolen Vine actually, and Shay talked about it. So I did a thing. Shay gave me this, and I've been wanting to read something, so she knew that I would have to go and get the first and second one. Very clever. So I did. They had a really, really, really good deal on Amazon. Normally I buy my books locally, but this time, trying to watch my pennies, I went on Amazon. I broke down. I got both of them for really good prices. So now I have all three, and let me put them in the correct order. I love the color art. I've heard so many good things about them, and I love big books. Oh, I love good long stories. And Shay told me to prepare to fall in love. So I will be digging into this first one. I'm going to leave it out on my nightstand actually right now. Yeah, I am about to embark on a new adventure, and I am really looking forward to it, especially after the stuff that I've heard about this series and this author. So I will keep you guys posted. I will probably blog about it, talk about it on the podcast, mention it on my personal Instagram. Probably not as much on the Annie.creative Instagram, since that's more, you know, like yarn and knitting, like specifically. But on my personal Instagram, Knit Right Love, that's who I am on Ravelry, by the way. It's all in the description. So far, I feel like the podcast has been, you know, I don't have a very large following anyway. So it's really hard to kind of tell, you know, if it's going to go anywhere. But the people who have watched my podcast and been awesome enough to take the time to give me feedback have, you know, said some really, really nice things. Hopefully you're not just being nice. No, some of them I know you're not just being nice. You know, you really are giving me honest feedback, and I really appreciate it. And I hope it's justified or warranted or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, I feel like I'll keep podcasting. I enjoy it more than I thought I would. It's not quite as awkward as it used to be. I mean, I'm only on episode 7, and I really do feel a lot better about talking to my phone, because I know that somebody else will be on the other side of that, you know, listening to me and humoring me, laughing at me. Alrighty, so I think I've reached almost the end. I know I've been talking for quite a while. One last thing I wanted to do is go through the some of the questions that I got on Instagram, because when I put out like a thing, hey, you know, ask me some questions while you wait for the late episode, because it will be late. So Mrs. Meadows on Instagram asked me, is your podcast available off YouTube? I'd like to be able to download for offline listening. That is a great question. I'm gonna do some research and find out the best website, app, I don't know, to go ahead and start posting my podcasts on. Thank you for asking, and I will do some research and I will update you guys either here on the blog, Instagram, all of the above. So yeah, Mrs. Meadows, thank you for asking. And I will get back to you on that. Let's see. Dear Dreams Yarn Company asked, best intro to brioche. It is on my eventual bucket list. It is a brioche scarf. So I've made myself 2 of them. This is my original one, as you can see. It is very, very well loved. It's a single skein of Malabrigo Merino worsted, and this is about the width of it, depending on, you know, if you get gauge or not. And then here it is folded in half, so you can get an idea. It's a good, like, you can go like this, and then kind of, you know, like tuck it in your coat, and then keep this like up around your neck. And it is very warm, so that's why I'm gonna, take it off. But yeah, it is just super soft, super squishy. Michael loves his. I made his in like a dark blue that kind of like complements his eyes, so it's like, oh, you know, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I made myself like a winter plum kind of jewel tone one, and then I made myself more of like a fall one. So got these 2. They get softer with wear. It's a free pattern that I have on Ravelry. I will link to it in the description box below. But yeah, if you want to venture into brioche, I would highly recommend starting with something really simple like this scarf. It's just literally the same thing back and forth. Once you get into it, the muscle memory is just right there. You can pick it up and go, oh yeah, this is where I was. It's great for TV knitting. So like If you guys have been following me on Instagram, you know, when I got it into my head that I had to knit Michael a scarf super fast, I took it with me everywhere. And I like to knit them on DPNs. Like I'll put like one of those little stopper things on the end, like on one end of each needle, each DPN, because they're so short, because this is like, you know, really thin project. And I will just knit, and then when I'm done, I'll take the stopper off of one and put it on the other, so that it's like on either end it's on there, and it keeps the project on there. And I just toss it in my bag. But yeah, it grows. Like on one lunch break, like waiting for my food to get to my table or whatever, I would knit like a good, you know, inch or two in 30 minutes or so, you know, or watching a show, like an episode of House or whatever, or just watching Michael play video games. It's just a really, like, once you get into it, the muscle memory is a thing. Like it really, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is brioche, and your hands will just do it. So, you know, it takes a little while to get there, but by the time you finish this scarf size project, you'll be there. So yeah, that's what I recommend as a good first brioche knit pattern. Happens to be mine, but you know, what can I say? I love brioche, so I did a freebie pattern. All right, so the next question is by Sammy. She asked, what is your favorite thing about knitting? To boil it down to one thing, I would probably say goodness, it's really hard to boil it down to one thing. Now that I'm really like taking the time to think about it and just be like, what is the one thing? Because I can list several things. I love the feel of yarn in my hands. I love the feel of, you know, the needles in my hands, the sense of accomplishment that I get from it, the satisfaction. I would say the process, but I don't always enjoy the process because I'm trying to get the product. Sometimes it's a process knit, sometimes it's a product knit. Goodness. Probably the feel of a project in my hands. I would have to say that. Just because I know I've touched on this a little bit, you know, that I deal with anxiety. So just having something in my hands just to, you know, be able to see something being made, knowing that I'm making it, and it's just a comfort. Like the feel of a project in my hands is a huge comfort, and it helps me release anxiety and stress. So yeah, I would have to say that that's probably my favorite thing about knitting. All right, final question for today is from, and I hope I don't mispronounce your name. Is it Jen Yoon, in Canada. I'm horrible with names. I'm sorry in advance. No offense to anybody. I'm like, with my last name, you'd think I'd be a lot better with it, but, and I try. I really, really try. That's why when I was like, okay, please somebody please tell me how to pronounce. I thought it was Micha or Mecha, that Malabrigo yarn that I was using for my red cardigan. And somebody was like, no, it's this. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So if I said your name wrong, I highly, highly apologize, or deeply apologize. I can't even get my words right now. Like, oh my goodness. Okay, let me get to the actual question. She asked, how did you get started on designing your own patterns? Which I think is an awesome question. You know, I talked about my process as it is now, 9 years in. But yeah, so I started designing when I was knitting, and I thought, man, I really want to knit my mom some gloves. And I had gotten one of the Harmony guides because I thought, I didn't know really what it was. It was just a pretty book with a lot of pretty pictures. And then I realized, oh wow, this is like, I could do my own thing with this. Like, what? So I was looking through and I found a braided cable, and the light bulb went off. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. I had been obsessed with fingerless gloves. I had knitted the the fetching pattern, the fetching fingerless gloves, cabled fingerless gloves off of, is that Knitty? Oh, I haven't been to that website in so long. Knitty, yeah. Goodness, I wonder if they're still going. I need to look into that. But anyway, I saw the fetching gloves and I was like, oh my goodness, I don't think I could do this. It's like a cable, it's like this twisty thing. And I'm like, oh. So I did it. I fell in love with cables. I fell in love with knitting fingerless gloves. And off I went. It was like, wow. So that's what started it. And I gave my mom a pair. It's the Delicate Gloves on Ravelry, my very first published pattern. 9 years ago this month, I put it up on Ravelry. But yeah, 2010, January 2010. I was like, what? Oh, okay. Yeah. I gave them to her for Christmas. She loved them. And I had just found out about Ravelry online, and I was looking around on there, and I was like, oh wait, I could put my pattern up here? I wonder if anybody would like it. And the rest is history. Now I don't remember. I still can't remember how many patterns I've done. Some of them are no longer available because they need help, and I don't really want to go back to them necessarily and revamp them. I do want to revamp some of them. I have a couple in mind that I would like to just kind of overhaul and rewrite and basically, 2.0 kind of thing. Now that I'm a lot better at designing and I'm a lot more confident in my designs, kind of spice things up a bit. So yeah, that is how I started designing. I'm hoping to kind of this time next year will be 10 years. Oop, my watch came on. Oops. I don't know how it came on. I must have bumped it or something. But anyway, sorry. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, for my 10-year anniversary as a designer, I'm hoping to cook up something pretty cool. I have some ideas floating around. We'll see, as the year goes by, what I'm able to kind of put together for that. But I mean, hey, celebrating 9 years, that's almost 10 years. That's pretty cool. I'm kind of flabbergasted. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like I've been designing that long. So I think that's about it. I have been talking for quite a while, actually. I'm surprised. I didn't realize, I didn't have a lot of, knitting progress to share, so I didn't think the podcast would be that long, but yeah, I have no idea how long this is actually going to be. I don't know how long I've been talking. I do know that I'm hungry and thirsty, and it's getting cold down here from having the heat turned off. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Yeah, I have covered everything. Yeah, I can't believe it. I got through the list, and hopefully you guys are not dying of boredom or falling asleep. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. You can find all of the ways to contact me or follow me on the internet in the description box. Check out the blog. I've just posted a few pictures that I had talked about in the last episode, some stash acquisitions that I could not properly show off here on the podcast because of lighting and all that. So I've gotten those up, and I'm also gonna share some pictures of my fade being blocked, like I said, so that way you guys can see why it took me 2 hours to get through that. You guys, I need to go to bed. Or just stop talking for a while. Okay, I have done the closing on this episode 7 times, and I keep messing up. I don't even remember what I was gonna say. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me this evening. Well, I mean, I guess it could be daytime if you're watching this during the daytime. But anyway, yeah, thanks for visiting. And for the questions, I would enjoy answering some more. Kind of help this not feel like a monologue quite as much. So yeah, keep them coming. I will post a thread on Ravelry so you guys can ask me stuff, and I'll try to cover some of them each time on the podcast. So yeah, have a good weekend, and I will see you next time. Happy knitting!